Welcome back, friends, to JARCHAMP Collectibles and the ChompCast. I'm here with my friend
Drew, or Marcucci Collects on Instagram.
This is round 3 with Drew. We are really excited to have him on. He's one of my best friends here in the hobby. If you guys haven't seen our first 2 episodes, definitely go and check those out. We will link them here in the description. But I brought him by. We're going to talk about a lot of the market, some grading plays he's been making, and just kind of dive into what we think's going on with the Pokemon hobby in general. But before we get started, let's have a little icebreaker. Drew brought me a Grail card.
Which this is fun because I haven't posted this on Instagram or anything yet, so we'll be of course sharing it later. But yeah, this was one that I had to reach out to Jake as soon as I hit it because I was like, feels like a him card.
Yeah, I think the message said something like, "Oh, so you say you like Garchomp?" Huh? and then he sends me this, and I'll pull up to the camera for you guys. It is a Black Label Cynthia's Garchomp from the new set in Japanese. It is a population 1 as of right now, 1 of 1.
Yes.
Graded yourself.
Yep.
You only sent 1 card and you got the Black Label 10.
Yeah.
So I know every Black Label has a story. So tell me the story about this card.
So this one I got super lucky with because when the Heatwave set was revealed, the one I personally was obsessed with was the Ho-Oh.
Right.
So I immediately started buying up Ho-Ohs. Like, I was joking with my friends that I was spawn camping because I was literally refreshing the page and just seeing new ones pop up, and I would just look at all of them and, grab ones that looked well-centered and whatever.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly I realized, like, the Cynthia's Garchomp was more expensive.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe I'll grab a couple of them. So I bought, like, 15 Ho-Ohs, and they were pretty tough. I did end up grading a Black Label, but largely they had a lot, the Ho-Ohs at least had a lot of print defects and whatever. But then I only bought 2 Cynthia's Garchomps, and that one came in and I was like, this is so stupid.
This is perfect.
I was like, come on. Like, I only bought 2 and one of them looks great. And then Ho-Ohs were a much bigger trial.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I sent off that and the Ho-Ohs together, and we hit both. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that so much. I paid Drew a pretty penny for his time and his skills, and we're going to keep that card in the personal collection. I think it's just kind of like it's essentially the mascot of my channel and the business that we're building here. And so thank you so much for letting me buy it from you. All right, let's get right into a couple of interesting topics I want to cover today. Okay, so. Number 1 is going to be in regards to tag grading. So last time you were here, we talked about grading cards and kind of gave a little bit of an overview, a primer of the 4 main grading companies being PSA, BGS, CGC, and then now Tag, kind of the new kid on the block. Obviously, they're putting a lot of marketing into getting their name out there as the primary AI grading service. And things were going really great. And I was in LA for Collecticon the beginning of March, and they had a big booth. It looked really nice. They had people walking around. I met the, what's his name?
Was it Matt?
No, I met
Jesse.
Jesse, yeah. He's a kind of a primary investor now in the business. And so shout out Jesse. And it seemed like it was kind of full steam ahead. And then there was a little bit of controversy that hit the airwaves as far as the quality of their slabs. And there being kind of some, it's too easy to break open and all this kind of stuff. And then there was a response from Tag saying, oh, well, it's designed to be like that.
Yeah.
All that being said, how are you feeling about Tag? I know that you've sent a number of cards over to them.
Yeah. I've still been having fun using Tag.
Okay.
And I think I talked about it a bit last time, but I mean, in terms of grading reports, I think theirs is the most comprehensive.
Yeah, definitely most robust.
Yeah, and it's interesting to, like, a grading geek like me, I don't think it's necessary for everybody, and, a lot of people probably won't even check the report when they buy a tag slab at a show or something,
Sure.
But I've still been having fun with it. I will say the one, like, minor unfortunate thing is they have gotten, like, COVID era backlogged.
Really?
Yeah. So I just had a friend of mine walk through a card last week, and he had been at the facility like a month prior for a different walkthrough.
Okay.
And he said that he went into the same conference room like both times. And first time conference room was like normal conference room, empty. second time, conference room was basically like another storage room of just like they are just getting so much.
So people kind of caught the wave and submitted thousands and thousands of cards, and now I know that they had like a price rise and also kind of a turnaround time increase estimation, and that kind of like I would say turned some people off. At least verbally, some people told me that, and I heard it on different channels or whatever. So I'm not surprised to hear that that was the result of the fact that people just sent hundreds of thousands of cards to tag.
No, I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but they were kind of recruiting bulk submitters before.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's the case anymore. But that obviously adds to it when you have these rip and shippers that are sending in pallets of cards to get graded and whatnot. But yeah, they have totally, it's cool. And I think what's good is like we get to see there's some real demand.
Yeah.
I think, Jesse has been obviously very supportive of Tag, and he's an investor in it, like we mentioned, and he's very transparent about that. But, there's a lot of people, for whatever reason, almost slinging mud at Jesse, just in the sense of like any sale was Jesse buying.
Oh, yeah,
or,
sure.
But I think that, it's not that we needed proof before, but for a lot of the naysayers, we get to see like there's real demand, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if they're getting backlogged and orders are taking a lot longer, and we get it's more than just like a big push, I think.
I agree. No, and here's the thing is, I put up a post, I don't know, a couple weeks ago on my Instagram about how I had some tag slabs at my table that haven't sold yet, but there's been a lot of interest. And I had dozens and dozens of people send me instant messages that were like, hey, I'm thinking about grading cards for the first time. I've heard that tag is a good option. What do you think? And so they're doing a good job, I think, of capitalizing on another thing that's happening, which is just a general boom in the increase in collectors.
Yeah.
And and those collectors have heard some of maybe the quote unquote horror stories of PSA and time frames and expense and upcharges and things like that. And they're wondering, well, maybe I should just try slab right off the bat, or try tag right off the bat. Another thing I've heard is, obviously at this point, tag is not the market leader in liquidity, and your ability to resell a slab. But I have heard of people say things like, I don't really care to buy a tag slab to resell, but I would buy it if I wanted it for my personal collection because they like the look of the acrylic and especially with modern cards. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how it goes. It's interesting to see them kind of go through this time of controversy and time of increased volume and just kind of see how they deal with it, because if a business is going to have staying power, then they're going to have to overcome things like this from time to time.
Yeah, and what's funny is when we talked before, like I mentioned, like I'm not affiliated with any grading company.
Yeah.
And I'm still not like professionally,
Sure.
But I do have an affiliate link from Tag now.
Yeah.
Just like to disclose that. But I've still been, impressed with them and still using them.
Yeah.
I did buy some pretty high-end English WotC era.
Okay.
Not Tag, but PSA that I'm planning to cross to Tag as like my experiment.
I see.
I looked for some clean PSA cards that, maybe the grades are accurate, maybe they're undergraded, overgraded, who knows.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll post the results in a couple weeks, and it'll be fun. It's some nice stuff.
Yeah, grading experiments I think people are always really interested in. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, check out Marcucci Collects on Instagram. All right, man. So next topic, and this is something that I also posted about on Instagram because, as you know, I collect these Delta Species cards, these 10s, reverses, and the hollows, which are almost all really low population cards.
Yeah, like double digits and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, like less than 100. So, like, for example, this Rayquaza reverse Delta Species with the stamp on it, I think just kind of in passing, because I follow Z&G on Instagram, and they post about their record sales and price increases, and things, where the prices end up on their auctions on eBay. And for those of you who don't know, Z&G Emporium is it's probably the primary place to send graded cards for consignment on eBay. Between them and Probstein, I would say those are the big two, especially for Pokemon at least. Anyways, so I saw that there was a sold listing for that Rayquaza for, I think it was like $2,000 or something like that.
Really?
And I bought it for, just a number of months back for much less than that, a number that was much closer to the recent comps, right? So we're talking like, 500, 600, 800 or somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly. But anyways, I'm not buying these cards thinking that they're going to double in price in a short period of time, especially because they're low pop, right? So I posted on Instagram and said, hey, you know what? Like, does anyone have any insight on how Z&G is achieving these record sales on these low pop vintage cards time after time after time? And I wanted to bring this up to you because you're someone that consigns with Z&G frequently, whether it's for vintage or for modern. So I don't know if you saw that post on my Instagram, but anyways, what do you think is going on? Like, how are they achieving such record sales on these cards?
I frankly am continually mind blown because I agree with you, right? Like how many times can this Rayquaza card double, triple in price?
Right.
And that's just one example. Like there's so many. I mean, we had the what's like the ancient Misdrevious, the Paradox one.
I am actually not familiar with that card.
Fluttermane. It was it the Paradox like PC promo?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you bought from the Pokemon Center one of the ETBs, there was like a Fluttermane promo that came in it, right? Sold for over $2,000 in a PSA 10.
What?
Yes. This is a card that came in like default,
Right, a free promo in the box.
Yes. And
so the Pokemon Center stamped Fluttermane promo sold for $2,000 in a 10.
Yep. On Z&G. And previous sales were
sold and paid for.
Yes. And previous sales were still high, like even like I think $500, $600, $700, which I think a lot of us would balk at and be like, for a ETB promo, right?
For an Ultramodern card you got for free.
And maybe it's hard to grade, or maybe, obviously the PC or Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs are harder to get. But regardless, I don't think a lot of collectors that have been in the space for more than 3 days are looking at that and going, yeah, that's a good buy,
Right.
And because same thing is like, right, you see a sale like that, and what immediately happens? Everyone sends theirs to PSA.
Right.
And
it's like, oh, I can make thousands of dollars on this? Yeah.
And so I guess with Z&G, there's a few things that I think add to his almost like fandom of increasing prices.
Yeah.
I think one of them is like a legitimately dedicated customer base.
Okay. As far as like buyers of his auctions.
Yes.
Okay.
There's one buyer who I know buys on Z&G quite a bit, and I've talked with him personally. And for whatever reason, he buys on Z&G a lot. I think there are some of these guys that just like to buy these cards that they like, and they like having like a public record of it.
Oh.
Like this is someone that if I reached out to him to sell privately, like he wouldn't do it. Even if I'm selling it for lower than it will go on Z&G. It's almost like they want to see these real time.
Yeah. The evidence of the market moves.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting.
We see people say, private sales aren't comps and yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So I think there are these people that like having this essentially like public track record.
Yeah.
And they like being attached to it.
Yeah.
So I definitely know that he has a strong list of buyers, both in the States and overseas.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that eBay can benefit from is having the international pull, right? Mm-hmm. I know some of the auction platforms, it can be more difficult to bid or even not feasible if you're international.
Yeah, especially now with tariffs and everything going on.
Right. So, yeah, true. Who knows? Things might change even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, the dedicated customer base, I think, is a big one. And then other than that, I don't really know what else to say. Like James is a phenomenal guy, the guy that runs Z&G.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it before briefly when he refunded before the grading companies stepped in for the prototype scandal. Yeah. And so I think he earned a lot of goodwill, including from me. Yeah. I hadn't had him consign stuff yet, but once that happened, I personally was like, that's someone I want to do business with. And so I'm sending cards his way. And other than that, I'm about as clueless as the next person.
Yeah.
Is how
Yeah.
I feel, because I don't know what.
Well, the thing is, like, you mentioned a really modern card that it happened to. I've been seeing it primarily with these vintage cards. So it's like neither side is immune.
True, yeah.
And at least with the vintage side, my first thought was, okay, have we actually reached that point where the marketplace is noticing these modern cards are a little bit easier to find?
Right.
And so maybe these low pop vintage cards, specifically in the mid era, are finally having their day in the light, because I think they're beautiful. But like, you open how much is a Delta Species pack? Like $600-700.
Right, right.
And if you pulled a Rayquaza and it grades 10, like we're talking about a tiny, small, tiny chance. And then like you would grade it and it comes back at 10 and it's worth as much as the pack.
Right.
Which is insane
Yeah.
in my brain from a collector standpoint.
100%.
But then there's also things like, okay, well, just not enough people know about those cards to really get enough eyeballs on them to buy. But then Z&G is proving that hypothesis wrong, right? That, okay, if you put it out into eBay and you have it advertised there, but then also on Instagram, and you have a dedicated buyer base who respects the value of these lower population, harder to grade cards, then it's realistic that you can sell something in a bull market like we are today for twice or 3 or 4 times as much as those cards have ever sold for.
Yeah.
And the price of something is only ever worth as much as someone is willing to pay. So if they bid and they win the auction and then they pay, like who's to say that it's anything other than legitimate?
Right. I know I know Z&G kind of caught some heat recently with, some of these continually just building sales.
Sure, yeah.
And I totally understand where these people are coming from, right? But I think one of the things that Z&G Emporium has always done well is they show when the sales are paid for and when they're not.
Yeah.
If there's a big sale that doesn't get paid, like James will post about it, and joke about adding another person to the block list that's already 5,000 eBay usernames high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can only do so much as like a consignment, right?
Yeah.
Like if it is a new eBay account and the name and the address don't match the person that sent it in, like why else would you deny it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can only do so much like due diligence, I think. And even then, I personally don't believe that there are like these shadow market manipulators.
Sure, the cabal, as some people say.
Like, because you can only spend so much money, right?
Yeah.
And sure, maybe you can temporarily price spike a Moonbryon or something, right? But if you've already spent, $50,000 on these cards, is it really worth it to then make like, $5,000? I don't know. I just am of the belief that there are some crazies and they are throwing money down.
Yeah.
We got some, like people refer to them as whales, right?
Yes.
That just like, they will buy up anything and everything. I think of like Arvin with the Bubble Mew.
Yeah.
Like,
Shout out, go to polls.
Right, exactly. And some people like would say like, oh, well, buying up all these, like that's, total market manipulation. And I feel like it's more just like hedging a bet.
Yeah.
Like
it's an investment. It is. It's a gamble. It's like, I think this card's undervalued. I'm going to buy a ton of them.
Exactly. And maybe it pans out, maybe it doesn't, you know? And so I think there are some of these buyers that are just like mass buying these cards that they like, or like you said, that they think are undervalued.
Yeah. No, and I think that there's also people who they get to the point where that they just want to buy a specific card and they're comfortable with what the means to get it, right?
Yeah.
So like this Rayquaza card, for example, it's very low population. You don't see it auctioned every day. Mm-hmm. There's only like 70 people on planet Earth who have one. And so when it comes up for auction and you really want it and you have the means to get it, then you're going to pay the price that is required to get it. And so I think that there's some of those auctions are pretty exciting, but it's also like, for me as someone who sells cards frequently, it's a little bit disconcerting because I'm like, okay, I see this card for the last year on average has maybe 3 or 4 sales and they're all in like the $600-700 range, and then all of a sudden there's a $2,000 comp. Is this card now worth $2,000?
Right.
Like if I have one in my inventory, like what should I sticker it at?
Totally.
And so because I want to be fair, but also I don't want to be behind the market.
Yeah.
So. All right, man. I appreciate your thoughts on that. Let's move on to the next one. And it kind of dovetails into that. One thing I'm noticing when I'm going to all these shows right now is this huge boom in these XY era cards.
That's so interesting
Yeah,
to me.
I don't know if you've noticed this, right? So obviously we have the new game, Legend ZA, coming out, and there's some leaks about, new megas, and there's going to be, we're assuming that there's going to be mega evolution cards coming out in the future sets, maybe this year or next or whatever. And so the collector base, I think, is savvy, and they're saying, okay, well, let's go back to the previous era and get those now, so that when the demand increases for megas a couple months from now, we're gonna be ready for that. And I'm telling you right now, man, the vendors are responding. I'm looking at some of the high end vendors who have like the biggest chase cards in their cases. So many of them are X and Y era right now.
That's so interesting.
What's your take on that?
I'm personally shocked, just in the sense of, we've had a few like there's a few XY sets that stick out, right?
Yeah.
Like Flash Fire and Evolutions,
Right.
which is funny because Evolutions was $80 before COVID.
Yeah.
And people were so sick of it.
Yes, exactly.
There's a couple sets in there, but I guess really like the art, I think, in XY is very distinctive.
Yeah.
Like it's probably, in my opinion, pretty polarizing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have like the beauty that the alt arts of Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet have, right? Just like simple, just beauty.
Yeah.
Like these are these crazy full art textured cards.
Yeah, it is the introduction of this textured idea to a full art card. I mean, there's maybe a handful of those in black and white, but like the first one's really, I guess it really took off in X and Y.
Yeah.
The other thing about these cards is the print quality in X and Y era is terrible.
Doo-doo.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like, cards and boxes that were even printed to demand, right? We're talking Primal Clash, Roaring Skies that were printed big time, Evolutions. Some of the cards in these sets are still very low population in a 10.
Yeah.
Whether Beckett or PSA. And I think people, especially the vendors, are recognizing that like if someone wants this card, you're just not going to be able to find it. It's not going to get auctioned very often. And so they're garnering these really high prices. And
what are some of the crazy ones? I'd imagine like the Mega or Primal, like Groudon, Rayquaza, Kyogre.
So that kind of the gold Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquaza from Ancient Origins, those cards as like a trio set, people are asking like $7,500 for just those 3 cards. And then I actually personally just recently picked up, here, maybe I'll show the camera. Here they are. I just recently picked up, and this is just one of them, the XY promos that came out in the Generation boxes. So this is the Blastoise from the Generations promo box, which is like less than 100 population. And I picked that up for me and paid a couple $1,000s for that card, and then obviously I wanted to get the set, so I kind of came out of pocket big time for all 3 of those. But I'm seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of these megas, like Mega Houndoom, and then the full arts like the Gengar from Phantom Forces,
the Jelly Bean Gengar.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 12K or something like that. People are asking for that. Yeah, it is crazy. So in your estimation, is this a bubble of these cards, or is it the market pricing in a realistic fact of, hey, these cards were underpriced a year ago or 2 years ago, and now that we're recognizing, okay, they're really low pop, they are beautiful, they're hard to get, they're hard to grade, they should probably be worth more. What's your take?
I think we see this trend pretty commonly, which is right. Something is down, it spikes, and then it will plateau. Yeah. And it will still be a lot higher than it was before. Sure. But there was a peak and there was a moment. Yeah. But I think of the tag team run we had, right? Like tag teams went crazy, both in English and Japanese, and at least with Japanese they came down quite a bit. Yeah. But again, still much higher than they were a couple years ago. Yeah. So I think that's what I would bet is, these probably were undervalued. And I mean, I don't own a single English XY card in my, graded, so I got no skin in the game. But, my guess would be we're probably going to see this spike and then it will come down a little bit. Yeah. But once it comes to rest, like that'll probably be the new norm again.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's exactly right. And this is the case for, all of these kind of waves that we see, whether it's alt art boom,
Yep.
GX boom, ponchos, whatever it is. And you're right. We kind of see like a new normal after it kind of levels out.
Yeah.
But it may not ever return back to its original lows, right? And I think that becomes true only because the market is expanding. That phenomenon is only possible because there's a growing number of collectors in the hobby all the time, which is essentially going to result in a growing amount of money or value that is being entering and investing into the hobby, into the marketplace at any given time. So from an advice standpoint, tale as old as time, if you guys really want one of these cards, then do what it takes to go and get it, and maybe make a trade or whatever it's going to be. But just be aware that anytime you're collecting something that's all the rage right now,
it's not prepared for.
It's not necessarily the most financially wise decision.
Yeah.
And I know that, but I really wanted those cards.
Well, those 20th promos are really cool, and they have tons of other Pokemon. Like Blastoise one has like Vaporeon, and they're really cool, unique cards.
They are. They're beautiful, and I have a kind of an inkling that next year with the 30th anniversary, they're gonna be in demand as well.
Yeah.
But who cares? Because I'm going to keep them regardless of their price.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, and now this goes to our next topic, which is again a further continuation of this idea of modern having this leveling out, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've noticed this in kind of your buying as you're buying to grade or whatever, but the Ultramodern stuff. We're talking about Journey Together, and then also some of these art rares that hit these huge peaks. Again, I don't know if I brought it up in a previous video, but that Eevee from Twilight, it was like $100, and now it's like 60, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing kind of a leveling out of these cards. Do you think that this is maybe like an opportunity to pick those up, or would you still kind of wait on those as they continue to fall down?
In my experience, cards are always the cheapest like a year or so after release.
Okay.
Right? So like they come out, it's like what we just talked about.
There's hype.
So there's that big hype, and maybe it's short printed and it stays that way.
Yeah.
Maybe it gets reprints, right?
Right.
But regardless, money and attention and hype will move to newer sets.
Yeah.
And it's not like these other ones will just be forgotten, but they will be more affordable.
Yeah.
Has been my experience. So if there's something I want, I usually don't buy it, day of.
Yeah.
I guess when I'm chasing certain black labels from new
Right.
Japanese sets, but Japanese market is so different than English. I mean, I also just mainly buy singles. So, I don't rip. I don't pay these big MSRP jumps. I pay what I think is fair for the card, So, I would say give it some time. Just depending on the release date, and again, as like more eyes move away from these, you have a better opportunity to buy. So maybe even just tracking like how many listings are on eBay, TCG Player. Look at these public places, and if there's 100 listings one week and then it drops quite a bit, you can kind of gauge. Where the interest and where the money's going.
Where the availability of those cards is. Okay, yeah, great point. I'm also interested to see what Destined Rivals will do to the rest of this modern market, right? Because I think at least one of the factors behind some of these modern cards decreasing in value is just, like you said, a decrease in the number of eyes that are, trying to find them. And I'm curious if one of the reasons that eyes are moving elsewhere is because they're preparing their pocketbooks for what's going to be an inevitably expensive release of this rocket set.
Yeah.
I'm seeing booster boxes, ETBs, whatever it is, at 3-4x of MSRP. Are you going to be picking up any of that on release? Any English?
No, I would grab like a Pokemon pack every once in a while, like from Target or something.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Pokemon pack in Target since like before the new year.
Yes.
So I just, I know there's been like some of the Pokemon Center like drops where you could have gotten them for MSRP.
Yeah.
I'm personally not tuned into those. So like I
Yeah.
don't get notifications and I don't try and, rush pre-order
Good for
or whatever.
you.
Maybe, right? Some people would think I'm stupid just for not, getting like, free money or whatever.
Sure.
But that's just not what I'm interested in, like in terms of my hobby, right?
Yeah.
So I just don't go for it. But I would encourage people to be patient.
Yes.
And likely the set will, if there's a card, like we've talked about this before, but if there's an art that you like and you simply want to own the art, look at other languages, right? Japanese is obviously the easiest one, but we have like some of the Chinese like tag teams are like a great deal if you just want that art.
Yeah.
And so as these other languages are printed too, there'll be great opportunities to own these cards. But I think you are right that Destined Rivals will be a unique experience.
Yeah, I agree. I am interested to see what it does and how people react to it. I'm a little concerned about, I think people who have been in the hobby for a while, they not only do they understand how to not FOMO because they've seen kind of the ebb and flow of the value of things, but they also, I don't know, I feel like they also have enough experience to be interested in other things simultaneous to new releases.
Yeah.
And so if they can't get the newest and shiniest and brightest thing, then they're like, okay, well, I can still go work on this other master set or whatever that
absolutely.
I'm trying to do. And I would just encourage you guys, if you're new to the hobby, that you do the same thing. Because again, like I truly believe that the Pokemon Company intends to meet demand.
Yeah.
Maybe not exactly when demand is at its highest, but they'll continue to work on printing these things, especially the Rocket set.
Yeah, I like what you said though. Like people need side quests.
Yes, that's exactly
when Destined Rivals is expensive, JARCHAMP can be looking at Delta Species.
Well, exactly. Well, the unfortunate thing is Delta Species is booming right now. So like right now, my main quest is super expensive, so I'm kind of waiting on a little bit. So
we'll find more.
Yeah. Well, that's like the X and Y is kind of my side. I don't know. I gotta stop chasing all the expensive stuff. Okay. And then the last thing, same topic is that Destined Rivals. Over the course of a year, usually we see pricing and value of things kind of slow down and decrease in the summer because people are more inclined to go outside and spend less time.
Touch grass.
Yeah, spend less money and time on their indoor hobbies.
Right.
But simultaneous to summer kicking off, we have Destined Rivals dropping essentially. What is it, in May or whenever it's coming out? Do you think that's going to impact demand at all on that set as far as summer, or is it just going to be like, who cares what season it is? We need Rocket right now.
I think people want it right now. And what's interesting to me is, right, we have these crazy prices. Not even necessarily, I mean, some people might think that double MSRP is insane, but as someone who's been in the hobby, right, that doesn't seem that insane to me, right?
Yeah.
Like it is what it is, right? Yeah. Sometimes set like beginning of Scarlet Violet were half MSRP.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that some of them are double.
Yeah. That's a great point. We're talking about a collectible. It's an inherently volatile market.
Yeah. And I think that people are, they're going to want this set no matter what. But what I find really interesting is even with Japanese, right? Like we don't even know what the cards are yet.
Right.
Obviously, there's big hype for a Mewtwo special art rare, and people are hoping for like dark Pokemon or Giovanni's, whatever.
Sure.
And I think that like we talked about earlier with like hedging a bet, I think that some people are hedging a bet. Some people are thinking that I'm going to buy this set at double MSRP because as soon as this insane Mewtwo artwork gets revealed, it's going to go even higher.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Mewtwo artwork turns out to be doo-doo, and people... I wouldn't guess that it would go down, but it would maybe stay stagnant, right, for a bit. So it'll be interesting as we get the Japanese reveal, right? Because Destined Rivals, half of it will be Heatwave Arena, right? Which has the Cynthia's Garchomp, Ethan's Ho-Oh, some great arts.
Cool cards that I want.
Right. So like we know for sure half of it, right, is already impressive. So I guess we're just banking on the rest of it being good.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a bad bet at this point.
Yeah, for me, like the fact that they kind of hinted that this set was coming during last year's World Championships makes me feel like they're really gonna roll out the red carpet for it.
Which it does feel. I'm hopeful of that too. Yeah. I know that we've gotten a reveal for just not a special art, but just a Rockets Moltres.
I did see
which
that.
is cool.
That's tight.
Like that's just happy. Did you play like XD Gale of Darkness?
What's so funny about that? I literally picked up a sealed
No
copy of
shot.
it. Yeah, at the show this past weekend. It's an EB Games seal on there.
Dude,
How insane is that?
that is so cool. That's crazy, actually.
Yeah.
This was like, I think I bought remember on the GameCube they would have it like as
yeah.
like the player's choice?
Yeah.
And the games were like 20 or 30 bucks.
Yeah.
I remember buying XD Gale of Darkness and the matching player's guide. It was on
Nice.
clearance at Target for like $4.
Oof.
One of the few times I had the player's guide,
I love it.
And
That's a game that needed one.
true.
Those
yeah.
games are tough and complicated.
They are, yeah. And anyways, I loved, at the final fight, you have the original birds that
Yes.
are. So I love this kind of like homage that, even if that's not what their intention was, that's that's how it is.
No,
in my
I
head.
totally agree.
So,
I think we talked about it last time that like the art design for like Rocket Returns and stuff, it looks a lot like those GameCube games.
yeah,
honestly.
it's kind of that original like.
Chunky.
Yeah, chunky. we need more chunky.
More chunky Pokemons. Okay, cool. Now some more questions more specific to you. What is your next Black Label chase?
Okay. Obviously, whatever comes with the new Team Rocket set, I'll be heavily looking at.
Yeah.
Assuming that it's not too expensive to get the singles.
Right. Because right now the boxes are what, like $200 for Japanese?
Yeah,
which
is 4x MSRP.
Crazy.
Yeah. And that doesn't include whatever the tariff situation is going to be at the time.
Right.
So who even knows? I'm hoping that there will be a card or two that would speak to me.
Yeah.
Like if there was a Rockets Articuno SAR, obviously that would be
Rocket Snorlax.
Ooh, yeah. anything that's just a return to Team Rocket Returns is going to be a big win in my book.
Yeah.
Something that's released would be, I'm still really going after the Milotic EX from Super Electric Breaker.
Yep, great set.
The problem is, right, when I buy these singles, if they don't meet Beckett standard, I usually send them to PSA.
Yeah.
But like that margin has gotten so thin.
Yeah,
like
for Japanese.
The Milotic EX was like $30 and the PSA 10 was like $90. I think the PSA 10 is still around $90, but the raw is now like $60. And so there's
that gap is
it's not that like I'm necessarily losing money, but it's like it's just the time, and it's
totally time
I
is
have
money.
to send it to PSA to get my essentially full money back. It's just like this cycle, and so that one's been tough. But I still really want to get that Milotic. It's just such a pretty art. And I have the Feebas Black Label, so I just need that one to match.
Yeah, it's almost a pair.
Well, I've seen this cool like frame that kind of like staggers them. Like how Feebas is like
Yes,
under the pond.
yes.
I think it'd be fun to do something like that in like a shadow box or something.
Yeah.
Hang it on my wall or whatever.
How long would you keep that in your PC? I know that your PC changes all the time.
It does change a lot. The problem is I get to attach these cards that are harder to grade.
Yeah.
And it's not like this Milotic is like vintage hard.
Yeah.
But it's been frustrating with like the print quality of Super Electric Breaker was just
Not great.
not as good as it could have been. And so I get like angsty towards some of these Black Labels where I'm like, you were harder than normal, so like you're sticking around,
That's right.
And so
I deserve to look at you for a while.
even if people undervalue it in my eyes, right?
Yes.
like I'm like, no, like I posted like I got the Articuno Art Rare.
Yes.
And that's only like a $10 card in Japanese, and someone offered me $7.50, but I turned it down, like because art rares are a pain to grade.
They are.
And I don't want to chase another one. Like, so if someone wants to make a crazy offer,
You
sure.
can't say no to, yeah.
Right. But like, and some people would say $7.50 is crazy, right? Like PSA 10 is, I don't know,
Like
60
30, $40,
yeah,
$50.
Yeah, maybe even, lower since I checked. So, you're looking at a pretty big multiplier, but like that multiplier to me doesn't matter when like the effort and the time and the
Skill.
there's just too much went into it to just like give it up for like a quick profit,
Totally.
Especially when there's cards I can grade quicker, easier, that make more money.
Yes.
So-
Yes. That's that hard dynamic, and you and I kind of talked about it off camera, but it's this dynamic between having something that no one has, right? Like a Black Label Population 1, at least this Garchomp is for now, for example, versus, what is the actual quote-unquote resale value of that
Yeah.
card,
Yeah.
And that's where I honestly feel like Black Labels in a pretty significant way, are more like modern art than they are like graded Pokemon cards. You know, like it is a graded Pokemon card, but the work and effort to get it, if you're doing it consistently, it's a tough thing to do, and requires a lot of skill and patience and experience. And the marketplace doesn't always value that for every type of card, you know? So it's interesting. One thing that you kind of hinted at while we were talking was that there's kind of this discrepancy between vintage and modern as far as the difficulty to grade a black label, but there's also a discrepancy between the value, right?
Big time.
And the liquidity thereof. So you have graded some vintage like cards in the EX era. I don't know, maybe some WotC as well. Black label, which is just crazy. You'd think that would be impossible. But you've also graded a lot of modern. And if I remember right, you posted on Instagram and said that consistently the modern is outselling the vintage despite how comparatively easier it is to source these high-quality modern cards. Tell me about that.
So obviously when a new set drops, that's when the most singles are on the market. And so it's, you know, like when I was buying Ethan's Ho-Oh or Cynthia's Garchomp, I can pick from, you know,
Tons of
500 listed at any time. And that's just not the case with EX era. It's like what, you know, we talked about like your Delta species, like they're just lower pop, and so there's less to choose from. And whether they're raw or already graded a 10 in a different company, right? And so unfortunately, what I personally like, which is EX era heavily, is not reflected in market desire. And that's not like actually a problem. It is if you were me last year and I was just going so hard on EX era, and pretty much on every black label that I graded, I lost money. Even if this black, right, like I think of like the Ampharos EX, right? Like I think that only sold for like 1,400 in a black label, and I spent a lot of money, you know, getting it's just. And the only reason I sold them was because I wasn't making smarter plays. Like I essentially had to resort to selling them. And that was the worst part, is seeing them, you know, just get sold at a fraction of what I valued them at. But that was my own fault for kind of getting myself in that situation by focusing too hard on what I want versus what the market wants.
I love that you said that, right? Which is this balance between, like, as someone who is trying to cultivate a collection or a business, you have to have this balance between doing what you really want to do and doing what the marketplace is going to value you for. And that's something that I have to come to grips with sometimes too, is like, you know, I'm not as good as you or have the patience to grade these cards that I want for my PC, these Delta species. So more often than not, I'm just buying them when I see them.
Well, but it's just different.
But I can't just go and buy all of them right now, you know, because that would impact my personal life and my business, because they're expensive, you know. And so I have to kind of one at a time. Okay, I have a really good show, have a good couple of shows. Okay, I have enough extraneous income to buy one of these cards.
When you always need to have money on hand for, like, it's the churning, right? And it's same, even though I'm not a vendor, it's the same thing for grading. Like, lots of money gets tied up, like when cards are sitting waiting to be graded, and you have to be smart, and I haven't always been smart. And so I posted on my Instagram story that one of the new Umbreon EX SARs from Trastel Festival, both in, I mean, literally in every category, time, money put into the card,
ease of sourcing, and then like sale price outperformed literally the 4 vintage black labels that I had, which was Ampharos EX at like 1,400, Wailord EX at like 2,500, Cradle EX somehow sold for $2,000, and then what was the fourth one? Altaria, right?
Altaria was around $2,000 as well. It's like, that wasn't an exaggeration. Like, that was literally like, because I sold that Umbreon EX black label it went for 7,100 on Z&G. No, and I'm like, to my friends, I'm like, I'm so stupid. Like, why haven't I just done Umbreons this whole time?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
we could be millionaires.
like I've just been dumb not to do this. But it's like what you said. You have to kind of walk this fine line. And so, frankly, I'm refiguring that out this year. As I totally put myself in a bad spot last year by focusing too much on what I wanted, and not doing enough of the give and take. So
a very, very mature thing to be introspective and try to find that balance, because it can easily get unbalanced the other way around. Like if all you do for 6 months is source Umbreon EXs to try to black label them so you can make money, you probably get burned out because you don't give a crap about the cards.
100%.
And so in order to stay in this hobby, you have to do things that you like. But like you said, doing the things that you like isn't always the moneymaker. So sometimes you have to do things like, sell cards or, whatever you're going to do that aren't as interesting to you, so that you have the opportunity to do the things that you really want to do.
And that's what I look at it is like, right, I'm grading these modern cards and selling them and just kind of not even looking back, because I view that as, this new money can be used for like down the road going after what I want to, and so it gives me that opportunity to do what I want to do.
I love it. That's a really great perspective. And then last thing is, I just want to say congrats on hitting 10K on Instagram.
Thank you.
One thing that I think some people take for granted is that, building a following on Instagram or on any platform, first of all, it isn't easy. There's tons and tons and tons of accounts and competition out there. And I know that it's not necessarily like the goal of your life to grow on social media. Franny and I, we've grown really fast, but it's because we've intentionally been quote unquote content creators. Like we've tried to build, make videos and whatever that people would subscribe and follow with. You have 10,000 followers just because you're really interesting and your business is fascinating and unique. So shout out to that, man.
Well, thank you. It's been fun. It's been like slow burn.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that there's people that are, supportive and interested. And I get lots of DMs all the time. I try and get back to them. But regardless, it's fun to just chat with other collectors. And some of my best friends are friends that I have just met like through Instagram, through the Pokemon community essentially, which has been really fun. And getting to meet up with them like in real life at these events is like so fun, giving them a big hug. But yeah, so I mean, congrats to you on 100K.
Thank you.
Very excited to see that play button on the wall soon.
Wow, yeah. YouTube, can you send that to us? That'd be nice.
Yeah, I want to see that in person.
You will. Last thing is, where can people find you if they want to kind of see what you're up to?
Oh, yeah. Instagram at Marcucci Collects.
Perfect.
Yellow Magikarp looking logo. And yeah, I'm on there. Postcards for sale. I post, what I'm grading, what I'm doing, and I just love talking to other people, getting the conversation going. So yeah, reach out.
I love it. Okay, that's the official end of the podcast, folks. Thank you so much for Drew for coming by. But as a little bonus here, we're going to open a Champions Path ETB together.
You're kidding.
Because I picked one up this weekend, and you and we met trying to source Champions Path for ourselves, and I never found one. I've never opened one.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Unfortunately, I've opened 20
that's fine.
And pulled nothing.
Well, maybe today's the day. So let's get right into that. I'm going to pull it from this secret hiding area.
This is actually a dream come true.
Yeah, so you hold that.
I haven't opened Champions Path in like very long.
There's probably a good reason, because Champions Path is terrible to open.
Dude, literally, I'll let you open it.
I've opened 4. Well, maybe a handful more just randomly, but like I've opened 1 Champions Path product, and it was a double V box, and I did pull the Rainbow Zard.
That's unreal.
And so I retired. And so we'll see. I doubt this will treat us as good, but let's get right into it. This should be fun.
When Champions Path had come out, I had a neighbor that I was living in a townhome. And I had a neighbor that was like, hey, like, you grade cards. And I was still pretty new, like, to grading. And I was like, yeah. He gave me a Rainbow Charizard that he'd pulled from one ETB. Got it back at 10. Sold it for like $1,200.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't even think that card is worth anywhere near that.
Yo, check this out. Look at our promo.
Oh,
it's demolished.
Gosh. That's awesome. Some good curve there.
That's a PSA 7, probably. Let's check it out.
That's so funny.
We got these nice sleeves. I'll keep those. I use them for my master set.
I felt so funny story about this promo. I love this art actually.
Oh yeah, this is actually a beautiful card.
Yeah,
Charizard.
I actually really like this art, and I graded a couple BGS 10s when Champions Path was really hot, and I sold them for like $300.
The gold 10s?
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I kind of feel bad. Like it's like 5 years later, and I'm like, that card is not.
Who could have known though?
I just, you know, I remember one went to like Paris or something, and I think even by the time the guy got the card, it had tanked. Like, and I was like, ugh.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah.
All right, feel free to just throw that down. We'll take care of it later. Sorry, Charizard. Pick your pack.
I'll go
2.
Did we get 10?
Yep.
Okay.
3.
This is awesome. I'll just do these last 2.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
I'm expecting a Machamp Hollow.
How many Machamp Hollows are
Yeah, probably
going to
3, 4. Machampion's Path is the real. That's the internal name that Pokemon Company used.
What if we legit actually pulled one of the Zards right now? That'd be cray.
That would be
cray.
actually a dream come true.
Yes. Okay. I got Scraggy, Purloin, Machop's Path, Nickit, Trubbish, and Machamp.
The first, yep.
Shout out Machampion's Path.
There it is. Okay, we got Kakuna, Pokeball, Machop, Hatena, Full Heal, Marnie, and Like and Rock.
Okay, so
as in like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Thank you guys, and rock with us.
I'm also expecting Rainbow VMAX Alcremie, right?
That's the Shining Fates, though, isn't it?
Oh, the Shining Fates?
Yes.
Wait, what's the rainbow in here? Is it a Gardevoir?
I don't even remember, dude.
Okay. Well, I'm expecting.
I haven't opened enough packs. Carvana, Swablu, Sizzlipede, Weedle, Zigzagoon, Hop Reverse. Oh, Obstagoon's Path.
Obstagoon's Path.
We've got 3 worthless holo rares.
You got this just from someone at the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Machamp.
I said 3 or 4. And
Yeah.
we're already
halfway.
Yeah, we're making ground already.
All right.
I don't know why they like legitimately this set is horrible.
It's one of the worst sets of all time.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I remember like the marketing cycle for this set was huge. Like
Just going crazy.
Yeah, they had all these pin sets and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was so like
they're treating it like it was Hidden Fates.
right, and it was not.
No.
It was nothing.
No.
Trubbish.
In fact, it was
Hatena, Inkay, Weedle, Linoon, Inkay. Oh, we've got Graplocked V.
Oh, you know that's going in the bulk bin,
That's
baby.
an enormous hit right there. Graplocked V.
Ocean, Milo, Professor's Research.
Oh, beautiful. A Professor's Research Hall.
We are cooking right now.
We needed that one.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that.
It's probably like not including the Charizards, this is like a $18 master set.
Literally. No. Every card in here, no one wants.
Because everyone got massacred. Everyone has all these cards.
Yeah, if you guys think Prismatic is rough, open some Champion's Path. Rock Rough, Scrafty Hollow. We are on fire with hits.
We're coming in on another Machamp Hollow. I can feel it.
Come on. Give me Machamp.
Oh, Zygarde.
Ooh.
Fighting Energy got me excited.
So far, we've pulled 1 bulk V card. This box sells for like $120.
No!
Yes.
No!
Yes. It's horrible. All right, last pack magic for me.
Okay, yeah, you go first. We'll see.
All right, Nickit, Hatena, Swablu. Oh, I gotta give that to my wife. She's collecting Swablu.
Nice.
Scraggy, Carvana, Hatrim, Bro. Obstagoon. Galarian Obstagoon.
That is brutal.
That is horrid.
Not even a nothing.
Nothing. Literally nothing.
Least surprising.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to open it, because I knew it would be a strikeout.
Oh
my gosh, Marnie Hollow.
So 1 for 10.
Literally, what's more worth it? Our Graplocked V or our bent promo?
Yeah. Literally, best Champion's Path ETB right here.
Oh
Least brutal ETB.
God, that's so bad.
That is tough.
Whew. Anyways, shout out Drew. We need to do that for a little full circle moment.
Absolutely.
I'm going to award you with this Charizard V promo. Enjoy.
Thank you.
It'd be a testament to all your sins.
Yes.
That's all we have today, folks. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Are those 3 Hidden Fates tins?
Yes. Those are giveaways for the channel. Sorry, no rippy. I do have something else in store.
Okay. No rippy. Hidden Fates is so fun to rip.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in terms of like accessible, not made of unobtainium yet, like, and risk to reward, right? Like, because I feel like Evolving Skies, what's the pack at right now?
2022.
It's like similar to Hidden Fates pack.
Yes.
But way more brutal to open.
Way
less fun to open, in my opinion.
That's the thing with any specialty set. Like, I think special sets, long term, are always going to be more fun to rip. Maybe with the exception of, like, Dragon Majesty. That's just ass.
That's one's kind of like a one-off.
Yeah, like, how could you fumble a Dragon specialty set so hard?
I feel like they just... Yeah, I mean, those products were cheap for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, because... There's kind of nothing in there.
There's
like a couple rainbows, right?
It's like Rainbow Reshiram or something is the biggest card. It's like, I've never seen it. I've never had anyone ask me for that card. Never once.
Never seen it at the show.
Right. It wasn't even until recently that like the Mewtwo from Shining Legends really popped off.
Yeah.
So, all right, bro. You ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back, friends, to JARCHAMP Collectibles.